Welcome, sister, to your spring priestess transmission. We are talking about spell work. Our words are not weapons, but wands. Your voice is not an expression, it's a creation. And when you align your truth with your body and your heart, you become a spell of love in motion. As we step into this transmission, this is an invitation even just to dive into the concept of transmission, which is an inherently a feminine art. So we could write a report and write notes and then talk about them and study them and put them in graphs and categories, and that would be really useful. That is masculine knowing, that is objectifying reality and putting it into boxes. That is incredibly useful, isn't it? We all love reading books. We all love, quotes and charts that help us understand concepts. But the priestess is always anchoring into the web or the current underneath the words. So when we talk about transmission, we're talking about not reading notes from a page. We're talking about anchoring down, opening up from our channel, becoming the hollow reed through which the voice of spirit speaks. This is the voice of our womb and intuition that moves through our heart, out through our throat. This power of intelligently using our throat chakra is a highly important skill to cultivate as a priestess. Your words are not weapons, but wands. Your voice is not just expression, it's creation. And when you align your truth with your body and your heart, you become a spell of love in motion. So when we're talking about spellcasting, we are not just talking about a fancy little haiku that we write and we speak and then all of a sudden, poof, the frog turns into a prince. We are talking about tapping into a deep level of resonant truth, a deep primordial vibration of spirit, and the unique manifestation of spirit that moves through you as you, that is your soul, speaking from that place of deep alignment. Another way to think about this is, how can our words become manifestations of the Tao? So if you're new to the ancient Chinese concept of the Tao is the balance of the yin and the yang. It is the harmonious essence behind all things. It is spirit and spirit's never-ending urge towards balance, the balance of masculine and feminine. So to be in harmony with the Tao is to be allowing the stream to take you, while also discerning what route. You're not just letting the stream take you and then being hit by logs and rocks, but finding the discernment to allow the stream to take you down without fighting upstream. In the sacred feminine arts, our words create worlds. So the more we can be in harmony with the Tao, in harmony with spirit, in harmony with our soul, in harmony with the earth, in harmony with nature, the more that not only are we consciously crafting a life that is in harmony, but we are, of course, consciously crafting a world that is in harmony. We are bequeathing a future to our descendants that is in harmony with the Tao. So there's a lot at stake in spell work. It's not cutesy patootsy, right? It's not just like, oh, you make it rhyme and then you use your wand and you just poof. Because we can say as many affirmations as we want. But if what we're saying we desire is actually coming from our ego versus coming from our soul path, or what we say we desire is it's so edgy that we can't feel it in our body. We just contract as we speak the spell will not work. So there's many levels of spell work here. Each sentence we speak is an energetic offering. It is a ripple out into the web of life. So when a priestess speaks, when she uses the power of her voice, especially in ritual, invocation, or truth-telling, which really, like, let's be real, that's actually the priestess's life, right? We're cultivating a lifestyle of ritual and a lifestyle of truth-speaking, a lifestyle of being so in tune with our womb that what comes through us on the inside and out is a direct emanation of the voice of the goddess speaking through us. So when a priestess speaks, she's not just expressing, she's summoning. Therefore, for the priestess and for spell work, discernment is essential. Essential. That's why our priestess tool for the spring is the athame. It is the sacred sword cutting through the bullshit, creating healthy boundaries, cutting cords of things that no longer serve. So let's dive into the power of our word. I'm not really a like decoration, I have one decoration on my car, and it is been there for many, many, many years, and it dangles from my front mirror, and it's a quote by Hafez. It says, "The words you speak become the house you live in." It's shaped like a house. And that for me has been an ongoing reminder that the way that we use the power of our word creates our reality. Now, we in the embodied priestess path, we study practices like the Buddhist 4 gates of speech, like nonviolent communication. We cultivate our capacity for prayer and affirmation. And all of these are not tools for being nice. That's old paradigm feminine, right? That's wounded feminine, really. That's masking. Instead, these are tools that are maps for reclaiming our power. They train our feminine voice to speak from our essence, from our energetic spiritual essence, our spiritual center, not from our ego mind. They train us to conjure change, to consciously craft the environment around us without controlling, clinging, or grasping. They train us to call forth connection instead of collapse, acquiescence, letting our boundaries be mowed over. So let me repeat this again. All of the skills we train whenever we are using our voices, whenever we're in relation to the throat chakra, we are looking for an emanation from the womb upward through the heart and out through the throat. And when that alignment isn't occurring, really, it's not worth using our words. It is not uncommon for priestesses to in the past, to have had months, if not years, of silence as part of their training. And to this day, it is not uncommon for really any mystical tradition, or even very, 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 mainstream religious traditions, to have regular honoring of silences, to have silences before initiations, to have a 10-day silent retreat, to have silence during certain plant medicine ceremonies, temescals. And this is a cleansing, a purification, a reminder that our words matter. They create change. And when we are using them carelessly, we are potentially creating more karma, more trouble for the world, and more trouble for ourselves. So how can we be so clean in our communication while letting it be organic and natural? This is the craft of spell work. I'd like to repeat again that the tools we cultivate as a priestess, they train the feminine voice to speak from essence, not ego, to conjure change without controlling, and to call forth connection instead of collapse. Ego, controlling, and collapse, these are, yes, part of the feminine shadow. So we are stepping into essence and conscious crafting of our life and connection, communion in our relationships through the power of our words. And when we align our voice with truth, with kindness, with an intention that it is for the benefit, that our words are for the benefit of all, this prayer we are always seeding as priestesses, may all of our actions, all of our words be of benefit to all beings. And when we're aware and conscious of our environment energetically so that we know, is this the right time? Can this person receive this? Is this the right time to cast a spell? Am I in alignment with the spell, or am I just speaking words? Because I can tell you that so many times in my original journey with spell work, so many times I wrote spells, crafted spells, did ceremonies that on some level of my being, I didn't actually believe in. I didn't actually believe I could have the abundance I was asking for. I didn't actually believe that doing the ceremony made a difference, doing the reclamation of my blood ceremony, for my maiden becoming a woman as an adult, like that would make a difference, when I first started my priestess work. And of course, this is all a part of the phase of our priestess work. Like, I had to do those things in order to cultivate a felt trust in those things. And as a result, over time and with patience, such an important part of our priestess work, that I, gained a felt trust, a felt faith in my capacity to consciously co-create with the life force. And therefore, my spells, my words, my rituals, my ceremonies became so much more potent and powerful. But the reality is now I actually do, I was going to say I do a lot less than I did then. That's actually not true. When I was in my priestess training, ceremonies were being passed to me, spells were being passed to me, or I was creating them, as a novice. And it took that time, it took practice, right, to cultivate this skill. And now, I now it's like a life of spellcasting. Now it's like a life of ceremony. Now it's a life of ritual, where I just know that my thoughts are creating my reality. I know that my journaling is creating my reality. I know that the way I'm speaking with you is creating my reality. I know that the movies and music and that I consume, the relationships I am, they're all consciously crafting my reality. So the discernment that I've cultivated over time has created an environment where the things around me, the words around me, the energetic vibrations around me are just supporting my own soul's manifestation. So spell work now just is so much easier. And ceremonies now so much easier because it's a lifestyle that energetically was cultivated over time. And through that cultivation became my reality. And this is the path of the priestess. We notice, we might at first, feel like there's things we're practicing, or it might feel almost forced, or like there's ceremonies we don't quite resonate with, or there's concepts we really have to mull over. And that's so valuable because really in the end, we're coming into finding our own truth and really letting it resonate deeply within us, because that is how we make an impact, not by blindly accepting dogma, but by feeling into our own field what is true, what is real, what is here, that is medicine for me. And knowing that when we're deeply rooted into our womb, what feels good energetically, intuitively, that is ultimately for the highest of all beings. But this takes discernment, this takes clearing, cleansing out the bullshit, getting really familiar with our ego. So today we are going to talk about the 5 petals of the priestess spell. I would love for you to take a moment, drop in with your breath, maybe touch into your body, your heart, your belly. And to visualize a beautiful 5-petaled flower in front of you. What color is this beautiful spring flower? Is she red or pink? Is she yellow, orange? Is she blue? See her 5 petals here and feel into the resonance. 1 for earth, 1 for air, 1 for fire, and 1 for water. Right there at the center of her, this place where her pollen lives, the seat of her throne, the petals emanate out from. This is the truth of her creation, her pollen that will come and bees will be attracted to. This is her nectar. This is her yoni. This is her womb. This is her offering to all of creation. As you see that 5-petaled flower here, I invite you to return into this shared space, and let's go petal by petal, because the Priestess spell has 5 different elements, 1 for each element. Starting with the petal of earth. This is the petal of gratitude. Now, this has 2 main pieces. In order to cast an effective spell, we need to be rooted in truth. And truth, the foundational element of truth, is that we live in a generous, loving universe. We are supported in every moment by our loving Earth Mother, who provides for us in every way, including when we are deprived, provides for our soul growth, our spiritual advancement. And when we tap into gratitude, we first of all just raise our vibration. So gratitude itself vibrates at the highest level of any emotive experience. Gratitude vibrates at the highest level. It's right up there with love. Gratitude makes us feel good. So gratitude is the #1 hack that's going to move us from, being down in the dumps, being disconnected from the truth of this abundant universe that is always seeking to support us, that is always on our side, that is always supporting our manifestation, supporting our relaxation, that is always supporting our spell work. In order to get into this place of trust and faith, we need to get into a space of, first of all, seeing what's true, that this is an abundant universe. We are so provided for no matter what, even in the most drab of all situations, even in the darkest depths of the underworld, still the Great Mother is providing. She is choosing you. You are here. Breath is moving through you. Therefore, you are being chosen to be here. You are here for a purpose. We can activate this high vibration that will set the groundwork for spell work by asking ourselves, what am I grateful for in this moment? By cultivating a daily practice of waking up and asking, first thing, what am I grateful for today? With our beloveds, making that a practice around the table before eating. With our beloved life partners, making that our nighttime check-in. What are you most grateful for today? Gratitude is a lifestyle, and it is the lifestyle of the Earth Priestess. There is another element of spellcasting associated with gratitude, the Earth element petal of spellcasting, and that is an actual practice. So the first petal is gratitude. We want to really just acknowledge the abundance that's already here on the regular. This is like if you're like, oh, I'm going to cast a spell. Okay, let me work with gratitude, and that's like the only time you're ever working with gratitude. Like, your spell work is not going to be that effective. Gratitude is a way of life. It is a lifestyle. It is cultivated regularly. Just like the impact and effects of meditation augment over time, same with gratitude. It is a spiritual practice that drops us into truth, that clears away the bullshit. It is like water clearing and cleansing. Now, to turn that into an active form of spell work, this is one of my most favorite forms of spell work. I actually have my gratitude journal right here. I love having a separate journal for this, but this could totally be done in your regular journal. I love having a separate gratitude journal because I keep it on my kitchen table and I'm like, oh yeah, this is my practice. And that is the practice of, first of all, writing what we're grateful for. This would be level 1. What are you grateful for right now and why? What are you grateful for and why? Let me actually give you an example from my gratitude journal, since it's right here. And I have so many journals, but sometimes it's nice just to have them little spiral bounds here. So you could start with what are you actually grateful for, and then we're going to move into actual manifestation, womb-manifestation. So, for example, I'm grateful for my dad. This is like one I'm just pulling out of here because he's generous, he's kind. He's a mentor for me because he loves himself. He's family oriented. He's intelligent. He has a great attitude. I am grateful for my tenant. I have a tenant, and I'm grateful for this tenant because he's really quiet. He works a lot. He's gone a lot. He always pays rent on time. He never asks me to fix anything. It's like, these are examples of what I'm grateful for. And then part 2, so that's just, you could also get around that if you're just like doing a daily spoken gratitude practice. Part 2 is let's do the spell. So the spell is you take what you desire and you write it as if it has already happened. And you're so grateful that it already happened. And then from there, you write why. And I will tell you, the why is so much more important than anything else. The why is what makes this powerful. It's what makes this whole thing work because it gets you into the felt vibration. So we can anchor into gratitude for what we have, even let it shift our mind state to a space of positive openness to manifestation, openness to the reality of the loving, generous nature of the universe. That attitude of universe is loving and generous and endlessly kind. That is the attitude that supports spell work. That is the attitude that supports conscious co-creation with life because it is a felt trust. Now, if you were going to manifest something, so actually I have here, this was quite a while ago, but then I was manifesting a reliable new tenant. And I said, I'm so grateful for my reliable new tenant because she's quiet, she's responsible, she's kind, she's low maintenance, she has good vibes. And I feel so incredibly relieved that now I don't have to worry. Now I feel like everything's covered as far as the mortgage. And I just got into that felt sensation. Now, another example is, this was a time when I was sick and I said, I'm so grateful for my vibrant health and completely clear sinuses because when I breathe easily, I have more headspace for creativity. I feel so confident and easeful. There's so much freedom with my activities because I can breathe so clearly. So that's an actual applied practice of petal number 1, earth element. Let's step into petal number 2, the petal of fire. And this is the petal of desire, the embodied voice of spirit. Now, underneath all communication, underneath all of life, there is desire. We want to always acknowledge desire is holy. Desire is the way that spirit speaks through you. There are transcendent forms of religion and spirituality that say desire is bad. And on the feminine spiritual path, we're acknowledging the sacredness of all of life, the sacredness of all manifestations of God, Goddess. And that means we acknowledge the sacredness of our body, of the earth, of even our desires. Even if those things are complex, right? Like even if the human life is tricky and it can be icky and it can be challenging, it can be tricky, right? And we're not just trying to transcend up to the heaven realm. That is the hyper-masculine spirituality that is makes the earth unvaluable. It makes the body unvaluable. That is the old patriarchal way. We are embracing our desire as the voice of spirit. But keep in mind, we're going to head to the petal of discernment soon. Now, we do need to cultivate discernment before we can even be fully clear on our desires, because is your desire coming from ego, or is your desire coming from soul? Is your desire coming from your blueprint, your soul blueprint, what you came in to do, this beautiful individual puzzle piece of your being that is part of this infinite choreography of creation, this whole grand orchestrated mystery that you are such an important part of? Is that where your desire is coming from? Is it coming from your womb? Is it coming from your heart? Or is it coming from imprint? Is it coming from cultural imprint, family imprint? Is it coming from basically brainwashing? Is it coming from just the time and space you live in? We, for example, live in a time where it is so hyper masculine, the culture, that we don't even see it. We don't even know. It's like a revelation. When we go to a moon circle or something, and a woman tells us starts to contextualize patriarchy. And it's like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. But it's the water we swim in, right? So our true desires, we really want to cultivate discernment in order to activate those. We'll talk about discernment shortly. But on the most basic level, the petal of your desire is like, what do you desire? What do you want? What's your intention? Being in touch with those questions is so important. It is the foundation of manifestation. It's the foundation of spell work. It is how we actually, the only way to create the life we want is to know what life we want. And that in itself is a journey. That in itself is a process. So it's a spiritual process. It's a process of coming to know ourselves. So the question here for this petal of desire, the fire petal, the burning desire inside, the holy desire, is what do you desire? What do you want? This is a practice that you can employ in every moment, every transition, at least once a day, multiple times a day, every time you go to your altar. And, up to every time you make a transition, you go from one room to the other, you go from the day to the night, you go from bed to wash your face, whatever it is. You can ask yourself, what do I want? What do I desire? So something as simple as I'm transitioning from my desk to my kitchen can be, I can take a conscious breath in a conscious moment and ask, what is my intention for this next phase? Maybe I'm just going for tea. My intention is to get tea, Maybe I'm going to transition from work. My intention is to sink into a vibration of ease and relaxation so that I can enjoy my night. That is an example of desire. So it can be super simple like that, or it can be like, I desire to serve the earth as a full-time priestess. And then, a manifestation that's like a bigger manifestation might take time to dig through your desire. And it might take time to own your desire, right? But we want to fearlessly get in tune and in touch with what is our desire, and then really just speak it. Because we can't get what we want if we don't speak it. And, if we do have these 5 petals of the spell work, but even just one, if there was only one petal, if we were working at the most simplistic, basic, shallow level here, we would just say the petal of desire. You just say, what do you want? There it is, cast a spell. There's more complexity here as trained priestesses, but I want you to really tap into how essential and foundational this petal is, the petal of holy desire, the fire petal. So what do you desire in this moment? How useful is it to even ask that question? How empowering is it to ask that question? How often might you ask that question to the people you're around to find out, to ask your partner, what do you want to do? Not just what do you want to do, but what do you want? What do you want from life? Ask people you care about, really find out, what do they want? Because the only way you can meet their desires is if you know, right? And you're not assuming. And same for yourself. The only way you can know how to meet your own desires is if you know. You ask. All right, the third petal is the petal of receptivity. This is the water element. And this draws us into the fertile void. The fertile void is the space from which creation blooms. We know that because the womb is the fertile void. The womb is the portal, the passageway between the cosmic other world and this world. It is the portal through which life passes to manifest from spirit into the 3D. Now, feminine energetic anatomy is the foundation of creation for women. Let me repeat that. Feminine energetic anatomy is the foundation of creation for women. Therefore, as women, we have an energetic body that is actually differing from otherly gendered beings, including men. So we energetically, we receive through our yoni, literally receive the phallus, we receive the sperm, we receive self-care, we receive care, we receive providership, protection, ideally. And then as a result, we multiply. So we receive sperm, we multiply it in our bodies, and we create a fucking baby. That's insane. Talk about manifestation. Holy shit. That is next level. But keep in mind that energetic equation is we receive, we multiply, and then we give back. We give back through energetically, through our heart chakra, physically through our breast. We can nurture life. So this current, this circuit of the feminine energetic anatomy, we receive through yoni, through womb, we offer through heart, through breasts, and then we receive. Of course, in a sexual connection with a man, that would be a very, literal thing. Like we literally be penetrated. We energetically offer into their heart, and they offer their potency, their seed of creation into our body. So whether they literally offer their seed or this was just an energetic flow, this is the union of the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. So I say all of this to say that receptivity, or the yin space, this is the place from which women create. Let me repeat that. Receptivity is the place from which women create. We do not have a phallus that, a biological woman doesn't have a phallus that penetrates. It's a very different energetic anatomy. Very different energetic anatomy. So we actually have to receive first before we create, right? Like, this cannot be looked over. This is very important. So please capture this in your heart, your mind, receive this fully, is that as a woman, you must receive first in order to create. You must receive support in order to create. And if you do not, you will be draining from your bone marrow. You will be harvesting your own yin to serve others, to give to your children, your partners, your job. As women, we must receive, we must cultivate a yin practice, an emptiness practice. We must cultivate spaciousness. We must cultivate rest. We must cultivate womb cave, right? So we come back to the essential foundational practice of every aligned woman, taking time for your blood. We take the winter during our blood. And if you're no longer bleeding, you take that new moon portal for downtime, rest time, reflection time, quiet time. So that you're not just giving all month, but we're sinking into the cyclical reality of the earth, the cyclical reality of our own feminine hormonal cycle, the cyclical reality of the moon cycle. The feminine is cyclical. She needs to receive first. We need the winter before the spring comes, right? So, third petal of creative manifestation, spell work, petal of receptivity, the fertile void. If you are not, hear this, if you are not receiving what you want, it is because you're blocking it. If you are not receiving what you want, it's because you're either blocking it or you don't really want it. Because you are powerful. You are so, so powerful. You are a creator. It is literally written into your womb. It is written into your cells. You create reality. You are God, goddess. So if you are not receiving what you want, the first place is what I do with clients. Is like the first place we go is like, how much space are you creating to receive? How much space are you creating to receive? On a very practical, tangible, even like masculine level, you know, it's like if you want a new job, clean out your closet. If you want a new client, clean out your drawer. You want a new home, get rid of everything in your home that you don't need so that you're ready to go when that opportunity arises. The vacuum or the spaciousness of the womb, the spaciousness is what magnetizes a filling. So we are limiting our own capacity to receive if we are not receiving, if we're not coming into a place of receptivity. The amount of energy that we can run through our system, aka the amount of creation we are capable of the impact of our creations, is really how much energy we can run through is the limiting factor to how much we can receive. So if we feel uncomfortable with rest, which I would say the majority of women do feel very uncomfortable with rest because we've been trained in a masculine society to believe that value lies in doing. Our worthiness and value lies in doing. So even just, our capacity to be with the discomfort of rest, our capacity to be with the spaciousness, that is going to dictate how much we are actually able to create. So this is the practical takeaway from this, is we really want to be knowing. We want to be in an understanding of how much can our nervous system hold the voltage of our, desire. And oftentimes if we're just connecting to our desire and we're just like in go, go, go mode and we're in masculine mode and we're just trying to create, we get so caught up with that fire energy that we don't have the cooling waters of receptivity, the spaciousness and reflection. And often what we find is we're just in that desire mode, we're just in that fire mode, that go, go, go mode, I want this, we're actually operating from ego. Whereas when we take the monthly womb cave, when we take the massage, when we take the 5 minutes of rest or the 1% more self-care that week, we find deep reflection that becomes direct communication with spirit through our womb, through our desires, our intuition. We drop into the current of reality in a way that allows it to directly translate out as power, as creation. Without the winter, in constant spring and summer, we are just depleted and we cannot hear the voice of spirit. We need every season to create wholeness. We need every season to be in harmony with the Tao. This is one truth of the feminine that has been repressed and suppressed. This is what we must bring back into our sphere and our embodied experience in order to be master creators of our life, in order for our words to have more impact, in order for our intentions to create the life, the abundance, and the world we desire to create. And a big takeaway of this is, how much are you resting? How much are you taking downtime? How much are you allowing yourself to receive from the universe? One practical takeaway of this is when someone asks you if they can help you, you just say yes. just say yes. Like you don't need the help. It's cool. Just say yes. If you don't want to deal with the person, whatever, like that's another situation. But, if someone asks to carry your groceries and you're perfectly capable of carrying your groceries, then absolutely let them carry your groceries. It serves him, right? And it serves you to receive. We'll be always cultivating our capacity to receive. But we want to move on to petal number 4. We touched on before the petal of discernment. This is the air petal. This allows us to really have divine clarity about what we really want and where that's coming from. So as witches in training, in order to speak our reality into being, we must first be in clear communication with ourselves, which requires that we're aware of our needs, our emotions, and our desires as often as possible. One way that this is reflected in the priestess traditions was originally in the pyramids of Egypt, and we can also see this in the over Castalia Spring with the oracles of Delphi. The inscription, know thyself, know thyself, know thyself, above all else, know thyself. This was part of the great oracle of Delphi. Above all else, everything else, take your own counsel. Know yourself. To really know ourself requires we really have a relationship with what's real and what's ego. And this is why all of our priestess practices of rooting into the earth, co-regulating with the earth, coming into a true, touching of our body, a direct experience of sensation, coming into a discerning relationship with our mental body, understanding what is old patterning, old stories that are keeping us trapped, understanding what is imprint, what is blueprint, so that we can really know thyself. When we say know thyself, what we're really saying is, do you know your soul well enough that you can make informed decisions? Not talking about just knowing what you want for lunch or knowing that next outfit you want, right? Those things might also be really important. Those are really important things too, actually. Let's not downplay that. But let's tap into really knowing thyself means we know what is the voice of fear or ego, and then what is the voice of spirit? What is the voice of truth? And a great question for this is, what do I feel? So with our first petal, it's what am I grateful for? With our second petal, what do I desire? With our third petal of receptivity, it's how much am I open to receiving? And then with this petal, it's really, what do I feel right now? And we know that feelings aren't everything. They're so important. It's important to, be emotionally intelligent and understand what's actually happening with us versus being numb. It's important to be present in our own field versus getting caught up in everyone else's emotions or the storyline or the stress or the rush. But to anchor into not only just getting swept away by the feelings, but really coming back to center and letting the feeling pass through. So a supporting question for this is, so what do I need? What do I feel? And what do I need? This is a profound double question that is a deep shifter for this question of know thyself. How do you know yourself? Well, one way is coming into, what do I feel in this moment? I grew up with psychologist parents, and we had in their office and in our playroom, we had this poster that said, how do you feel today? And it had 100 or hundreds of faces. They all had different expressions on them, and it was sad, happy, excited, whatever. And the funny thing is, it really took me until I was in my early 20s to realize I had very little emotional intelligence. I was emotionally intelligent with other people. I could understand other people's emotions. I really, in fact, I was most of the time I was feeling other people's emotions. But in terms of what I really felt, I was very disconnected what I actually felt. So, what do you feel in any given moment? This is a powerful practice to cultivate. And then the follow-up is, what do I need? So maybe you feel bored and you need to go for a walk or take a dance or read a book. Maybe you feel sad and you need to just hold yourself. Maybe in this moment, you feel attacked by your partner, you feel fearful and defensive. And what do you need as a result? So the what do I feel is the feminine. The what do I need is the way our inner masculine shows up for us and really supports us to ground and center so that we can be taking actions and speaking words into our spell work and our relationships that are actually aligned to the highest benefit for all beings. Because if we're not in tune with what we feel, we are for sure going to be operating from ego. We are for sure going to be operating from defense. Because until we make the unconscious conscious, we will call it fate and just keep playing it out, right? That's Jung. So it's Carl Jung. Until we understand what is actually happening inside of us, if we're, are we operating from shadow? Are we operating from ego? Are we operating from truth? Are we operating from our greatest power? Are we operating from our biggest vision for the world? Are we making decisions for our life based on what serves the future for our descendants that we desire to create? This is discernment. Now, the amount of awareness we have around our own emotions, desires, and needs is our capacity to discern between what is true for us and what is ego programming. Just repeating. So self-awareness is our level of consciousness. Like, it dictates our level of consciousness. How much we know thyself dictates our level of consciousness. And our level of consciousness is what creates our life. And if we want to know our level of consciousness, we can start to look around, at our life and really drop into how much are we allowing ourselves to receive the abundance that's already here, the generosity that's already here, and also to be in gratitude for the challenges that invite us in deeper into our soul work and our spell work, deeper into a clarity around our emotions and who we really are, our soul journey. This is the ever unfolding path of spell work and priestess work and inner work. This is a place where the four gates of speech really help. This is a place where nonviolent communication really helps. This is a place also where prayer really, really helps. Is just to, give, if you don't know what you don't know what's the right thing to do in this situation, or thing to say in this situation, or thing to feel in this situation, like give it up to the goddess, give it up to spirit. I don't know, this is a prayer I've had a lot recently. It's like, I don't know how to do this. Can you do it through me? I don't know how to do this. Can you do it through me? And there is a process of giving up, of surrender, of letting it go, releasing control, that allows the ego mind to soften and allows spirit to speak through us. And the voice of discernment becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. That brings us to the fifth petal, the last petal, the petal of alignment. This is the petal of ether or space. And this is really drawing us into our own vibrational frequency and the way that it's embodied. So embodied vibrational frequency. This is a reminder that, in many different religious texts, one of the first things it says in them is like, first there was the word, or first there was sound. So that's an acknowledgement that the universe is vibration. Sound is vibration. Words are vibration. So you could say an affirmation and just not believe it at all. And it's not going to carry the same vibration. It's not going to carry the same weight for your spell work. Or you can, be such an embodiment of the vibration of truth of what you want that you don't even ever need to speak it out. You just know it. And that's actually just called our world. That's called your world. That's called your experience. It's like your experience in the moment is actually you just knowing what, you created all of it. So it's like on some level, you created everything that's around you. So it gives us an opportunity to create, to claim radical responsibility. Now, I will make a caveat here for large cultural phenomenons like racism, like capitalism, like mass, single family housing. Like, yes, there are, like child abuse, like murder, like things that it's like, yes, there are terrible things that exist. There are terrible things that happen to people. This is not to say they created it. This is to say there is also not only a personal mind, there is a collective mind. There is not only personal karma, there is collective karma. And we are all dancing in both pools. As priestesses, we know that we have the most impact on racism. We have the most impact on, more communal housing, on reducing child abuse. Like, we have the most impact if we are in alignment in ourselves. We are in truth with spirit. We are in a deep awareness and a high consciousness of the essence of who we really are. It is from that place that we are in harmony with the Tao. We are not creating more karma. We are, in fact, forces for positive harmony in the world. Just like a drop of sacred water in a cup of water will shift the vibration of the entire cup of water to pulsing at that vibration of healing. Same for the priestess. She is the drop of water in the collective consciousness. So we always are doing our inner work. Now, this reminds me of, I do love the Tao Te Ching so much. And there's a line in there that says, the Tao of which we can speak is not the true Tao. And the reference there is like, you can say the words, but the words are always pointing at something else. The words are always pointing at, the thing that the word's talking about. So if I say candle, this is the candle. My word is pointing at the candle. So this is where spell work is useful, but it's a pointer. So if we're not energetically aligned to the words we're speaking, they won't be as powerful. So I, when I was in the process of healing 20 years of eating disorders, I in that process, I took on this affirmation: I love my body no matter what, or I love my belly no matter what. And it was so painful to speak those words for so long, so painful, and it felt so untrue. It felt so wrong. And if all I had done was speak those words, it never would have gotten me anywhere. But I was receiving all kinds of therapeutic support and doing deep, inner work and practices and practicing yoga and, nourishing myself with healing foods and being in nature and receiving, all kinds of healing energy. Therefore, over time, that affirmation became true. And to this day, I can tell you it's fucking true because I've said it so many times that, I cast that spell into reality. But it took so many things to align me so that it was actually true. So this is the key to spells, is we can't just speak it. We have to feel it in our bodies. Otherwise, it's just an imprint. Otherwise, it just has like a little bit of power, a little itty bitty power. And then let's call again this quote we just spoke from Jung, is like, until we make the unconscious conscious, we will continue to manifest our shadows and we will call it fate. We will outsource, we will be in victim mentality. When the more conscious we are, the more aware we are, the more capacity we have to actually be along our soul path and create the life we want. Not just all these ideas that the ego has about what we want, right? So beware of shadow manifesting. What are we desiring? And then how can we energetically align to it? Our nervous system is the limiting factor to how much we can receive. So many, if not most of us, have limitations of, let's say, money, for example. So if I were to hand you $100,000 right now in your palms, most likely that would, for some of us, like if you were raised in wealth and you've already held $100,000 in your hands, or you've spent $100,000 with ease, you might be like, oh, cool, yeah, just stick that in the bank account, or yeah, can you take care of that for me? Anyway, and then great, there's ease there. It's easeful manifestation for that person. If, however, you have never received that amount of money, most likely your nervous system will feel safe receiving that amount of money. So even if you say, I want $100,000, if your nervous system can't hold the vibration of abundance, you will block your receptivity of what you desire. This is really, really important. So this is why the cultivation of our, discernment and awareness is so imperative, because we are only going to be able to receive what doesn't invoke fear, unconscious fear. And there's so much shadow unconscious fear floating around in the ethers of our human experience. This is the journey of the human. So becoming aware of that is the path to alignment. We need awareness first. So if I say I want $100,000, and then I imagine $100,000 coming into my hands, and I feel my heart rate pick up, and I'm like, ooh. Then maybe I start with, I want $10,000. I just play with that. Can I imagine $10,000 coming into my field? Can I breathe with that? Can I feel relaxed with that? This is how we expand our nervous system's capacity to receive. And we need petal number 3 in order to do that. We need receptivity. In order to do that, we need spaciousness. In order to do that, but we also need this last petal. We want to align our body, our mind, and our spirit. So when we are speaking spells, when we are doing ceremony to create, to manifest, when we are with the new moon or the full moon, and we want to consciously craft our life, we want to get the body online. We want to feel, how good does it feel when you say, my intention for this month is to rest 3 full days on my moon cave. And then when you're manifesting that, and you're just feeling it, like, oh, it's going to feel so good. I'm going to be so relaxed. We come into our why, right? And let our body feel that. Then all of a sudden, the power of our spell, our manifestation, becomes so much more direct and powerful. So So, yeah, that's it. Let's close it down. The 5 petals of the 5 petals of Priestess spell work. Let me just repeat those for you. We have number 1, the earth petal, petal of gratitude. Number 2, the fire petal, petal of desire, holy desire. Number 3, the water petal, the petal of receptivity. Number 4, the air petal, the petal of discernment. Number 5, ether element, petal of alignment, vibrational frequency embodied. And to close, I will speak these simple, beautiful words that I invite you to bring into your practice, to write on your altar, to remind yourself you are a powerful manifester. You are a priestess who cultivates the power of her word, power of her discernment, who aligns to earth and sky, becomes a channel for spirit, allowing the manifestation of spirit to move through her as her soul path, not just her ego desires. Open your entire being to receive these medicine words. My words build worlds. My voice is a prayer. I speak with the grace and power of a priestess. Blessings, beautiful priestesses. May we continue together to cultivate the power of our word and the vibrational alignment that makes those words into reality. Blessings on your spellcasting.